Hi, Marcel, the Wood Butcher. Back with an exciting episode. Well, you know the routine. The camera has to go back on its little holder because I don't have a production staff. All I have is moi. That's it. Anyway, we're going to do part 2 of the 3D 5T candle holder. Previous episode, I showed you the wood. I had it marked up where stuff was going to go, where the cut lines were, and things of that nature. Well, what I did is I already took the pieces. I cut them off, and remember we had the on the line side where the round part was. They're cut. The 45 angles are cut. I went ahead and glued these up, and I'll have to explain to you how I glued these up. Once this prototype is done, and I make a second one because I like the way these are going to come out, is we'll actually shoot a video step by step of how it works. I already have all the holes drilled for where the candle holders are going to go, and what I'm going to do with this is I have these dowels. Now, I want to tell you why, I talk about repurposing wood all the time, is where I get these dowels from. Okay, hang on one second. Here we go. Okay, I'm back. I'm coming back. Well, I buy these foam brushes by the bags, and I probably have, with no exaggeration, 10, 15 bags of them. And to be honest with you, I don't go to the box store and buy them and this and that. What I do is I go to places like Big Lots or the dollar store or something like that, and I pick a bag of like 10, 20 of them up. This happens to be almost all the same size, but I get them in assorted bags for like $3, $4, if that much. And these dowels, once I use them, and you know as well as I do if you use these things, once you use them, they're garbage. You throw them away. But what happens is the handles screw right off of them. And then you throw this part away, and this part goes in a bin. And that's the dowels I'm using today. Or these guys from old foam brushes. Okay, just a little tip for the low-budget woodworker as myself. Okay, so what I did with these is I drilled these holes at the drill press, of course, and if you remember when we made I hope you can see the lines, when we made the straight lines across, and I had the little red dots there where they intersected, or where where they wanted the holders positioned. And I took them to the drill press. Oh gosh, I think it was like a 3/8 drill. I don't remember exactly the size. But I set the drill press so it only goes like 3/4 of the way through the 1-inch stock I have. Well, it's not really 1 inch, as well as I do. 1 inch by 3 isn't really 1 by 3. It's like whatever it is, right? But so I'm 3/4 of the way through. I set the drill press stop on a piece of scrap so that I would get it right, so that I didn't screw up the original. Okay, then what I did is I took the dowels and I allowed for the 3/4 of an inch. See the line there, the 3/4 of an inch that's going to sit in that hole. Now I wanted, for the first one, I want lower. So, and this is important when you do this, when you cut your dowels down or measure your dowels, number them. Number them number 1 and number 1 for the front, because they're going to be the lowest. So, once they're in here, what you have to account for is, again, that 3/4 inches of how high you want the candle holder itself to set. And in this case, what I'm using the same stock, only it's cut into, I think they're 2-inch squares, 2 by 2-inch squares, again, to find this dead center, mark the X's across, took it over to the drill press. While the drill press was still set with the, like I said, I think it's like a 3/8 bit. I don't remember exactly if it was 3/8 or one of the 32nds or 64ths, right in that neighborhood, but I don't remember. When we do the prototype, once this prototype is done and we do the actual one, it'll be done with drawings and everything else. Well, drawings the best I do them. It'll be sketched out on a piece of graph paper with measurements and stuff like that. Now, these again, what I did is what they were left over from another piece of this, which was actually, before I decided to do this with it, was actually an exterior frame for what do you call them things? A little collector spoon. The sugar spoon collectors, or the little spoon collection spoons, where a client wanted one made that would hold 60 spoons. Well, I had the thing practically done. Thank God I didn't stain it yet or anything like that, because I kept contacting. What color do you want it? Do you want it natural? Do you want it early American? Do you want it walnut? Do you want it oak, spring oak, red oak, mahogany? And I never got an answer. So I waited probably about 7 months. And when I didn't hear anything back, I looked at all that wood and said, I'm going to do something with it to generate some income, or as a gift or something like that. So that's what this is all made out of. Again, not a dime spent to actually produce this. Okay. Now, again, we have a 3/4 inch hole in these. So when you do your dowels, and number one here, you have to account for, now these are not cut down yet. I'm going to cut them down tonight. You have to account for that, and also that same depth, for that, and also that same depth on the other end of the dowel for that. For instance, I want this candle, the first candle holder, to raise up, I think it was like, well, it looks like about an inch and a half. About an inch and a half. So when this is on here, and this goes into here, the first one is the toughest one to mark. After that, just copy the scribe marks over to the second one. So what I did is I had to measure that. And this is why I say it's important to number them where you're going to put them. So I had this is the 1/4 inch or 3/4 inch that goes in to the base. These two lines is the 3/4 inch that goes into the holder itself. And what's left, what's going to actually be exposed or hold the candle holder up, the height that's going to be exposed, is that. And that works on both this side and this side in the first position. That's why I say it's important to number these number one. Unfortunately, I can't get two out of one handle, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Now, when it comes to the second one, I want the second position to be about, maybe about an inch, 3/4 of an inch higher. Well, the depth of the wood, actually, higher, and then a smidgen higher than this guy. So basically the effect is, how the hell am I going to do this? I'll try this. The first one's going to sit about this high, orientated that way, with the end grain showing. And I have the grains all matched up. The second one is going to be in the same orientation, kind of diagonal, but a little bit higher, probably about that much higher than the first one. And then the third one and the last one is going to be higher than that one, and then the increments go down on the other side. Okay, so for the second one, let me get these little squares out of the way. For the second position, those are number one, that's number one, is number two. Yeah, number two. Again, I marked a 2 on it, and my depth, now that I already had what the 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch is. The only thing I had to set my square for was the total length, and calculating it on the square where I wanted the line to be, and just drew it. Now, I don't have the second one marked yet for the second position, so here it is. And what we do is we simply take the scribe. The end of these foam brush handles that has the hole in it, don't use that. Don't use that, because those holes are never drilled square, and if you try to drive a screw in there or something like that, they're going to split on you. So I always start from the solid end. We put the square on there, right? We put the square on there. I'm trying to show you this. And then take the pencil and mark the line. This is going to be the waist, and put the number 2. You don't have to worry about 2A or 2B or 2 left or 2 right, because they're going to be the same. Then what will happen next is these will go on the bandsaw, and I'll hack them off at where the lines are. Like, for instance, the number 2 ones are going to get hacked off at that line. Both of them. Boom. Then put in, glue it in, and I'm also going to countersink a screw from the bottom, because these are going to hold candles, and the last thing I want is glue from the dowel hole to come loose and somebody burn their friggin' house down, right? And then the number 1s, I mean the one that had all the lines on it, that was my initial make the not the jig, but get the initial measurements from, because the second number 1 only has the 1 line on it, and that's where it gets through the bandsaw. So the next phase, and they'll end up looking something like this, but like I said, cut in increments. This isn't cut yet or anything like that. And what I'm toying with the idea of doing on the back here, I'm not sure, but what I might do is I have some of this stock left over, some of these squares, and what I'm thinking of doing is, let me line these up first, and I'll show you what I'm thinking of doing. I want to herringbone them this way. It would be this way. Nope, this way. Nope, this way, yeah. And the fourth one, herringbone it. It's got to be this side, okay. This way, and I'm thinking of putting 4 of these pieces together, and I think you can see the way I have the grain herringbone. The one thing that was fantastic about this whole project is all of the pieces of wood ended up from the same 8-foot 1x3, and I'm thinking of putting that on the back like that, probably maybe another one higher, right? So that it sits up, and maybe another one on top, just to break the monotony of the sticks. Now, of course, this isn't glued in; they're not lined up or anything. And then, but that's an idea I'm toying with, instead of the boring of just having another stick coming up. So, and what I may even do is put that like that, put a stick in between them, kind of like that, and put the center one on, on some kind of like that, with a dowel in between them like this. I'm not sure yet. That I still have to make my mind up on. Okay, but that's where we are so far with this. The next step is I'm going to take it over to the bench sander, or the bench sander. Get it sanded down, get these square pieces sanded down. The dowels I'll sand by hand, because they're kind of small and whatever, and then decide what color I want to stain it. Okay, now one thing to keep in mind when you're drilling out the pieces that the dowels go in, okay, which is the like I said, I believe it's like 3/4 or something like that, somewhere in between there. Keep in mind, the Forstner bit's going to be used again on the top that has to go through the depth of a tea candle, but not all the way through so the tea candle is completely buried. I know some people make these where the tea candle sits there and you see the whole damn thing. I don't like to do that. I like to leave maybe about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch of a lip so you can pull them up and out. Now, when you go down, what you got to be careful of, and I don't know if this is going to work or not, but if it does, it's no big deal. When I use the Forstner bit of that size to put in the top of this, since this is not quite halfway through here, if the holes meet, oh well. But if they do, it's not a big deal. That just means the dowel will show through the bottom of the big hole where this is. And if I got to trim the dowel, I trim the dowel. Whatever, okay? So, but that's yet to be seen. I haven't crossed that bridge yet. Well, figure it out as we go. Because once again, this is one of my projects where I have no drawings for. It's just off the top of the head using scrap. And believe me, when I'm using foam brush paint handles, it's from scrap. So for right now, this is Marcel, the Wood Butcher, saying, if you like what we're doing, hit the up key. And if you want to, please subscribe. I wish I had a steady schedule that I could say I'm putting a video out every Wednesday, or I'm putting a video out every Saturday or every Friday night. But my wacky schedule just doesn't allow that, so I do the best I do. There's some days I do 2, 3, 4 at a time. Today might be one of those days where I do like 2 or 3. But I do them as I can. Anyway, take care, and always remember, protect your eyes, protect your lungs, protect your ears, and don't ever forget about these guys. Whether you're at a table saw, whether you're at a router, and also on the drill press, because if a Forstner bit catches your finger, it might not take it off all the way, but you'll be in the hospital for looking for a seamstress. Okay? So take care and Semper Fi. Bye for now.